Welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of the Executive. Please note that the meeting is being broadcast and recorded. For clarity, voting is only permitted by the members who are present in the room. Any member joining the meeting remotely are able to participate in the debate but are not able to vote. Other than that, the usual rules apply. Agenda item 1, apologies. Have we got any apologies, please?
No apologies received, Chair.
Thank you. I can see the members of the committee are in attendance and their names will be recorded in the minutes. Please can the clerk confirm if any the members that are joining remotely, and if those members, can you confirm your attendance when Hannah calls your name, please?
Thank you. We have Councillor Bailey.
I'm here.
Councillor Gilby.
Present.
And Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Jeffries? Looks like he might have just left.
If Councillor Jeffrey manages to get back on, because I think he's on a train or something, then we hopefully he'll be able to join us in a moment. We'll keep watching. Right, agenda item 2, declaration of interest. The full text for declaration of interest is set out in the agenda. If any member has disclosable pecuniary interest or an affected interest to declare, please indicate and I will come to you in turn. Has anyone got such an interest? None. Thank you. Agenda item 3, that's the minutes from the previous meeting. Can I ask, please, if you are happy to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of October 2023? I'll move the minutes. Can I ask somebody to... Has anyone got any questions about those minutes, first of all, or anything to raise? Nothing? Can I ask someone to second the minutes then, please?
Chair, I'm happy to second the minutes. Thank you.
Right. Can all members in favour of approving the minutes put your hand up to vote, please? Thank you. Agenda item 4, urgent items of business. Are there any urgent items of business?
No, none notified, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 5 is the waste collection vehicle purchase, and can I invite Damien James, please, Assistant Director of Contract Services, to present the item.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Obviously the details in the report which has been circulated with you tonight. So in 2019 the waste collection contract with Suez was extended and a new collection fleet was purchased in 29 to manage the refuse, dry recycling and garden waste services. It was always estimated at that time there was going to be an additional need for a new 26-tonne refuse truck due to borough growth and also due to increases in garden waste subscription service. So we have seen quite a significant increase in both properties in the borough over that period and also the numbers of residents that are subscribing to the garden waste service, now up to just under 16,000. The current fleet is now stretched almost beyond its capacity. We've got refuse and recycling vehicles which are supporting the garden waste collection once their rounds are complete, and that isn't sustainable with the forecast housing growth going forward. So we do require a new 26-tonne vehicle for 24-25. So in terms of the so that's the first element around the need for the truck and why we needed an additional vehicle on the fleet. In terms of how that vehicle is to be fuelled, the section 5.6 onwards in the report covers that, and I'll pick up some of that in my presentation now. So the recommendation from this report actually talks about HVO, which is hydro-treated vegetable oil. And the recommendation in this report is that we trial HVO as an alternative fuel when we get this truck delivered. And there'll be a further report coming back to the executive with details of that trial as we get nearer to the delivery date of the truck. HVO itself delivers a 90% reduction in carbon dioxide equivalent emissions when compared to diesel, and can also be used as a direct replacement for diesel. I think the main risks around the use of HVO are the security of the supply chain, and that will be part of the information that we present back to the executive nearer the delivery date. Transparency of that full supply chain will really be essential, so we understand where the fuel is coming from. In terms of other technologies, we've also looked at electric vehicles and hydrogen, and also biomethane as part of those explorations into alternative fuels. I think in terms of the next best would be around the electric vehicles, and we've talked extensively in the report around electric vehicles. We have been speaking to other operators of electric vehicles and suppliers, as well as Suez, who manage our collection contract on our behalf. And the feedback that we've got around electric vehicles is that they have added some operational pressures due to limited range on their on a full charge, and they only become viable when there are kind of 1 or 2 electric vehicles in a very large fleet of 30 or more diesel vehicles. In our case, this new truck will be the 12th vehicle that we have on our fleet, so it will be a significant proportion of our collection fleet. Additionally, there's other considerations around electric vehicles, such as the weights of bins, using electric charge, and also external temperatures, which can also affect productivity. We do expect that technology on alternative powered HGVs will move on over the next few years, and we have another opportunity when we reconsider our fleet type again at the end of the current waste collection contract, which is in 2027. So something to consider for the future as well. There are options in the report looking at both outright purchase and also lease of vehicle. Traditionally, the council has bought vehicles outright as it uses capital expenditure rather than revenue. And when you're looking particularly at leases, obviously that's a revenue expenditure, and shorter lease lengths become more expensive. So the item in the report is actually for a 7-year lease on that vehicle, but the recommendation is for a supplementary capital approval, which would go to full council at the end of this month. Lead times for new vehicles are around about 12 months, so a significant lead time. We are expecting to have to hire onto the fleet probably from 1st of April next year in order to soak up that need until we get the new vehicle delivered. And in terms of paying for the new vehicle, the garden waste service is a chargeable service for residents, currently paying £60 for a 240 litre bin, and the council can charge for the collection of garden waste to cover the running cost of that service. We also have some saving that we can offset of £75,000 from the 24-25 budget build process, and then an additional £5 per bin charge for the garden waste collection service, which would cover the revenue cost of running the additional vehicle from next year. So hopefully that's enough information, Leader, but happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Can I ask, has anyone got any questions, please?
Thank you, Chair. I have a question on alternative fuel, but I feel the officer's covered it completely, really, unless there's anything else you want to add. My question was about looking at other options, but I believe you've looked at them all from what you've said.
I thank you for the question, Councillor Wright. I would just add, I suppose, that where there's a much larger fleet of collection vehicles, the criticality of vehicle reliability is less of an issue. I think we're well known in the borough for having an efficient and reliable waste collection service, and to risk that with potentially the option of having more vehicle downtime with an untried technology in the borough, it is quite a big risk. So that's why the recommendation is for the HVO trial.
Can I ask a question, please? I'm really supportive of HVO, but you said you needed transparency of where it comes from, and indeed I'd like to reiterate that we will find out where this oil's come from, because we don't want palm oil or anybody growing this stuff around the corner to make it viable.
So yes, thank you, Leader, and we will be bringing back a paper to the executive with full details of the trial before we start that trial and before we get the vehicle delivered, and we'll be looking at transparency as one of the key elements of that trial.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask why there's been such an increase in the garden waste this year?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Pennell. We've had a significant increase this year. The short answer is that it's due to the weather. So garden waste volume is really hugely impacted by the type of weather. So last summer, if you remember, was a long and very hot summer, and that reduced the volume of garden waste quite significantly. So this year it was much wetter, unfortunately, and the garden growing season was then extended as a result. So for example, in Q2, which covers the summer period, July, August and September, we collected 31% more garden waste than last year over the same period. And that would equate to about 375 tonnes extra garden waste over those 3 months, so quite a significant increase. Obviously, if that continues, then we would see increased volumes throughout the year.
Are there any other questions? Thank you. Can I ask a member to move these recommendations, please? That's 2122 and 23, as on the papers.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move these recommendations.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second these recommendations.
Thank you. Would the mover like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to be able to propose these recommendations in order to support the residents of the borough in their recycling efforts. The need for this additional truck has come about through an increasing number of households and an increase in recycling. Whilst this vehicle will be used across a number of services, it will predominantly be working with garden waste, empty and brown bins. This year alone, we've seen an increase of 31% of garden waste compared to last year. All of this organic matter is recycled through our partnership with RE3. The officers have spent a considerable amount of time looking at the alternative fuels as part of this decision-making process, for which I and the executive are grateful. The use of hydro-treated vegetable oil in this vehicle will be an important step in the borough's journey to net zero. Should this be successful when it's trialled, we have an opportunity in 2027 to review the rest of the waste and recycling fleet as we then transition to a new contract. I fully endorse the recommendations in his report, and I look forward to continuing to support residents in their recycling efforts.
Thank you. Would the second?
No, thank you, Chair.
I don't want to speak. Will all those in favour of this raise their hands, please?
Guys, got a question.
Also, Councillor Gilby.
Yes, I didn't. Were we not in comment stage of the debate?
You can be, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, at the risk of sounding like an echo, that I think the point that's been made by Damien must be well received, that we have to look at the sourcing of the HVO fuel. Quite clearly, if we were to rely on things like palm oil, it would create an extra incentive for deforestation, which is clearly something that we must do our utmost to avoid. And that's why looking at things like used cooking oil is a much more sustainable way of approaching this issue. But overall, I certainly commend all the recommendations that are included in this paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Would the
No, thank you, Chair. Other than to say that I fully support the recommendations.
all those in favour of the recommendations? Thank you. We now move to item 6, which is the housing allocation policy. And I invite Brian Daly, Head of Housing, Early Help and Community, to present the item. Good evening, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Leader. How are you? Thank you for this. Where were we? So the request is a recommendation for executive to approve proposed changes to the housing allocations policy, which is set out in the paper, and to approve the proposed consultation plan to enable residents, stakeholders, applicants, partner organisations and members, as well as the wider public, to give their views on the proposed changes prior to presenting any further of the findings and subsequent amendments to the executive for approval early in the new year. The rationale for the changes are that the current housing allocations policy is out of date, really, in terms of it needs updating to bring it in line with the legislative changes and to address the current challenges in housing supply and demand in the borough. Parts of the existing policy are out of date and clearer wording is required on some of the policies and how they're applied. So the proposed new policy has 5 key aims. And those 5 key aims are set out in the report, but just for briefness, I'll go through them briefly. So the first key aim is to reduce waiting times for larger homes, to prevent and reduce homelessness, to ensure statutory guidance is met, and to support key groups in housing need, and finally, to reduce complexity and unfair policies. Leader, would you like me to go through some of those policies in more detail?
I think the paper is very, very informative, and I think it's all here, and anyone who's read them has actually we've had questions before. It really clarifies all of this. So was anyone else like any clarification on this at all? Can I ask for questions then? If you don't, or would you like to carry on, or would you like now questions?
I'm happy to go to questions, Leader.
Okay, thank you. Can I have anybody with a question? My only question is that this is about consultation, and I really do want this to be consultative of as widely as possible and not just online. So all the councillors it would be really valuable if we had or a summary of the paper copy, so we could go out to talk to people about the key issues so they are well aware of what we're proposing. So we don't have 2 or 3, but we have a good response to this because it is a big change and it will affect many of the residents in Bracknell Forest. So if I can just ask if that is possible, then will be that okay?
That'll be absolutely fine.
Right, thank
you.
Are there any other questions? Can I ask for someone to move this recommendation, please?
Chair, I'm happy to move this recommendation.
Thank you. Ask for a seconder?
Chair, I'm happy to second.
Thank you. To speak on the recommendations, please.
Thank you, Chair. As the executive, we welcome this new policy for those requiring social or affordable housing. In recent years, there has been increasing pressure on the system due to low availability of new homes in relation to the rising number of households living in overcrowded or unsuitable housing. We need to move to a policy that prioritises those that need housing and aligns with national standards. For that reason, I'm welcoming the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that if this puts roofs over more people's heads, then it's a welcome move.
Would anyone else like to speak? No? Like to wind up?
Thank you, Chair. I think I've said everything.
Can I then ask all those in favour of these recommendations, please raise your hands. Thank you. We then move to item 7, the council plan, and I welcome our chief exec to open this, present it to us.
Thanks very much, Chair. So this item covers off the council plan, and this is the first decision-making meeting for the new council plan before it goes to full council at the end of November. It's a new council plan that will span for the next 4 years, setting out the strategy and vision for the council. It's been developed based on local data and insights, numerous staff consultation and insights, and then of course reflects the priorities of the new administration. It's also gone through and been considered by the Overview and Scrutiny Commission quite recently, and Executive are presented with the views of the Commission within the paper. The plan details the ambitions of the Council along with ways that this will be measured, with key projects that will be delivered, and the content of what we will be delivering will be presented back on quarterly service reports and the usual performance reporting approach that the Council takes. I should mention that we are making sure that our service plans as an authority will be updated. We're doing that work once the Council plan has been approved, and we will look to ensure that they are updated and agreed towards the end of this coming financial year, so that they're in place and ready to go from the 1st of April and are aligned with the budget that the Council will look to agree towards the end of this financial year as well. An important element of the plan also includes the Business Change Programme, which is looking at how we can improve the infrastructure of the organisation, ensuring that it is a sustainable and resilient organisation going forwards. And included in the report and as part of that programme, there is a capitals receipt strategy that I will now just pass over to the Executive Director of Resources just to provide you with a brief overview as to what that refers to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, so the funding of the Business Change Programme is essentially over and above what the Council's day-to-day activity is. So therefore we have to look at opportunities to think how we can support the important work which will underpin that delivery of the Council plan. So in previous years, this Council has used its reserves to fund transformation business change activities. Looking ahead, some of the challenges that we are likely to face as an organisation means that this is a good time to actually think about how we can protect the reserves. So therefore the proposal is to use a flexibility which has been made available by government. It's used by many local authorities already up and down the country, so this isn't out of kilter whatsoever. And essentially it allows us to fund the one-off costs of transitioning to a new way of working, delivering financial savings to help support our financial position, and fund that through the sale of capital assets. There is not yet a detailed schedule of what those assets will be, but we will not be selling operational assets to fund this policy. It will be looking at commercial properties, garages, the kind of miscellaneous things which we own, largely as a result of having a Newtown inheritance, because we own many things which many councils don't. So that's the kind of things we're looking to dispose of in order to fund the work to deliver the Business Change Programme.
Thank you. But anybody have any questions on the council plan? None? Then I would like to move this council plan and move the recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 and 2.4 as written in the agenda. Can I have a second?
I'd like to second.
Thank you. Then I will speak to it, because I think this is a really important document. It highlights what we set out in our manifesto. It's been agreed and discussed by many, many people before we got to this. Across party have had input, Overview and Scrutiny have had input. We've looked at their recommendations. We're looking at how it can be funded, and the strategies underneath it, the Business Change Programme, and there will be key performance indicators all the way through to make sure that we're actually delivering on all the items that are included, and they will be reported in quarterly reviews. So I think we can actually say this is a lovely programme to say this is what we want to do, and let's just get on and try and do it. So I'm really enthused with this. I think it's a really, really good plan. I'm really excited about it, and I thank everybody that's made this possible. Would the seconder like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo what the leaders just said, it is a really, really exciting plan, and we just want to get going on it now. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? The mover does not wish to wind up, so can we please raise your hand if you agree to vote on the recommendations 21, 22, 23, 24. Thank you. We then declare the meeting over. Thank you very much for everybody's participation. Thank you.